Behind the silk curtains and gilded palace doors of the 18th century Russian court, a machine for bureaucratic state-building was in motion. Catherine II seized the throne in 1762 through a military coup against her husband. As a princess with no dynastic blood claim to the crown, her position was politically hollow. Her authority rested on a fragile alliance with the military and the high aristocracy, the same power brokers who could organize a secondary coup if their interests were threatened. To secure her reign, she had to manufacture legitimacy through results. She needed an administrative record making her rule appear essential to the survival of the state. This map shows the geographic reality of the inherited empire, a staggering, unintegrated territory where central authority was a mere suggestion. Russia lacked a professionalized bureaucracy for these frontiers. In the south, the state possessed no warm water ports and little control over volatile borderlands. Catherine addressed this by bypassing the old aristocratic families, drawing a new service elite from educated provincial nobility who owed their status to the throne. By cultivating this new class of loyalists, Catherine began constructing a parallel power structure, one designed to deliver the administrative results her legitimacy required, insulating her from the high aristocracy. She formalized this through personal patronage, using intimacy to test administrators, converting favor into executive selection. Grigory Potemkin became the key product of this system, a provincial nobleman bypassing standard aristocratic pathways through direct connection to the empress. Potemkin was trained at Moscow University, where he studied Enlightenment principles of utility and state service, secular knowledge that Catherine intended to instill in her officials. During the 1762 coup, the young Potemkin reportedly supplied a missing sword knot for Catherine's military uniform, an act that signaled his early understanding of how symbolic theater supports political power. His early career was defined by military service and calculated displays of independence. He once withdrew to the Alexander Nevsky Monastery, forcing Catherine to confront his value to the court before returning to the center of power. When he became Catherine's lover in 1774, he occupied a structural opening in her government. His rise brought a provincial outsider into the absolute core of imperial statecraft. By the mid-1770s, the Russian state faced internal and external collapse. The Pugachev rebellion ravaged the Volga region, while grueling wars with the Ottoman Empire strained the military. Catherine required an operator who could absorb this chaos and convert it into coherent imperial policy. Potemkin returned from the Ottoman front with military credibility, having transitioned from a courtier into a tested strategic partner. He utilized his proximity to the empress to secure formal institutional authority, moving his influence from the royal apartments to the war college and the provincial chancelleries. He took absolute control of Russia's southern expansion, focusing the state's resources on warm water access and naval capacity. This focus shifted the empire's geopolitical weight. Under Potemkin's direction, the administrative energy of the Russian state moved from the landlocked north toward the Black Sea. His strategy led to the 1783 annexation of Crimea, a move that fundamentally altered the European balance of power by making Russia a permanent Black Sea tower. He established cities like Sevastopol, Kherson, and Nikolaev, which served as permanent anchors for Russian imperial administration in the south. Potemkin established a second center of strategic gravity, ensuring that the empire's future expansion was anchored in the Black Sea territories he had integrated. The integration of these southern territories required the systematic dismantling of the decentralized tribal systems that had historically governed the steppe. In 1775, Potemkin oversaw the destruction of the Zaporozhian Cossack hosts, removing a source of anarchic military power that had long threatened central authority. Autonomous warrior groups were replaced by professionalized standing armies and state-run military bureaucratic machines answerable only to the capital. He pacified the region by orchestrating the immigration of hundreds of thousands of settlers, turning the wild frontiers into agriculturalized provinces. He directed the construction of the Black Sea Fleet, a project that put Russia on a naval footing with the established powers of Western Europe. This modernization project relied on a centralized state treasury, which replaced irregular local tribute with uniform taxation managed by the government. By eradicating tribal autonomy, Potemkin replaced local, personal loyalties with the rigid obedience of a centralized imperial bureaucracy. The Ottoman Empire, Russia's primary rival in the south, began the 18th century with military parity. While Russia centralized its military power, the Ottoman state fractured as provincial leaders gained autonomy from Constantinople. This stagnation was protected by the Janissaries, a reactionary military class that rebelled against westernized reforms, derailing the modernization of the Ottoman army and finances. The results of this divergence were catastrophic for the Ottomans during the Russo-Turkish Wars, leading to major defeats at Larga, Kagul, and Chesma. Russian forces, utilizing modern technology and centralized command structures, repeatedly overcame larger but technologically inferior Ottoman armies. Treaties like Küçük-Kaynarca and Jassi stripped the Ottomans of their monopoly over the Black Sea and granted Russia protector status over the Sultan's Orthodox subjects. The Ottoman military could not complete its own professionalization until the Janissaries were violently purged nearly a century after Peter the Great's own military reforms. These wars served as a stress test for competing systems, marking the triumph of absolute, centralized bureaucracy over stagnant, fragmented traditionalism. The durability of this system was tested when Potemkin's exclusive romantic relationship with Catherine eventually ended. In most royal courts, the replacement of a favorite resulted in immediate political exile or the loss of office. Potemkin's political authority expanded even as he moved out of the royal bedchamber. His power had become institutional, not just personal. He managed later favorites like Zubov, maintaining his position as the indispensable strategist of the empire's southern expansion. Potemkin's rewards, such as the Tauride Palace in St. Petersburg, provided physical evidence of his status. His wealth and influence were anchored in the state itself. He survived his replacement in the empress's personal life because his authority was now embedded in the permanent machinery of the Russian state. The unprecedented partnership between Catherine II and her favorite, Grigory Potemkin, completely redirected the trajectory of the Russian Empire. Catherine utilized personal access and patronage to identify and mobilize a new kind of statesman. The end result was the creation of a merit-driven, centralized bureaucracy that fundamentally redesigned the entire Russian map. Potemkin demonstrated that the mechanics of personal monarchy could be directed toward building a professionalized imperial apparatus that outlasted the monarch's favor.